Kyrgyzstan is slap bang in the middle of Central Asia. It's the second destination that YellowWood Adventures launched in after I founded the company in Ethiopia. And I simply went there because I'd heard tales of the majestic Tian Shan Mountains, and I wanted to go hiking and climbing there. You'll land in the capital city of Bishkek. It's an ex-Soviet republic, and so the Soviets built absolutely beautiful government buildings, and they used the white marble which was mined from the local mines. So Bishkek is actually a really surprisingly beautiful city. There's a lot of green spaces, there's galleries, there's ballet, there's wine bars. It's just a really, really nice place to spend time. When you look at the flag of Kyrgyzstan, it's a red flag, and in the middle is a yellow round circle with 40 rays of the sun coming off. In the middle of the circle, it's the cross that you'll see at the roof of every yurt, which is the Russian word for tent, but actually the yurt is the felt dwelling of the nomadic peoples. And the reason they live in yurts, nomads aren't nomadic because it's sort of a cultural quirk. They're nomadic because they had to move. And they had to move because they depended upon their livestock. Central Asia has a very unforgiving weather patterns and seasonal shifts. And so if it's too cold and the grass is covered in snow, your flock will die. And if it's too hot and the grass dries up and there's nothing to eat, your flock will die. And if your flock dies, you die because you survive on them for milk and for meat. And so the reason that they are nomadic is because they had to constantly move around the country depending on the seasons. In the summer, when the snows melt in the high passes of the mountains and the grass and the shrubs come up, they'll move up to their summer camps and bring all of their flocks with them to graze. Kyrgyzstan is known for its Great Lakes. Issyk Kul is the second largest alpine lake in the world after Lake Titicaca. It never freezes during the winter due to its high mineral content, and actually sort of great armies of the past, including Tamerlanes or Timurs, used to winter there because it was a good place to stay and always have a fresh source of water. The Russians used it very much as sort of a sort of theme park, and to this day, you know, there's lovely hotels and you can take boats out and eat the local fish. When you get up into the mountains, the lakes become much bluer in color and much higher up as well. Issyk Kul Lake is known as the sort of jewel in the crown of Kyrgyzstan. It's a smaller lake surrounded by a crown of snow-capped mountains. You can go up there, you can have a go at horse riding, you can watch the local eagle hunting, or falconry as it's also known as, which is a nomadic tradition that's been passed down through the ages. If you like hiking, the Tian Shan Mountains are honestly world-class. You've got glaciers, really untouched, just beautiful mountain trails. When we first started running hiking trips in Kyrgyzstan, we used a sort of traditional route that went up by Issyk Kul Lake. It's famous for a reason, it's very beautiful, but actually after a couple of years of that, we realized it was getting a bit too popular. We were seeing like dirty toilet paper and empty vodka bottles under bushes. And we said, you know what, this is too busy, because everyone was going to the same place. So with my local business partner, Max, we actually pioneered a new route, hiking through the Tian Shan further to the north. I've got 12 British tents out there. And so, you know, we're really off the beaten track there. We'll occasionally see, you know, a local nomadic herder with his yurt and his flocks, but it still ends in the beautiful valley of Altin Arashan, which means golden spring, where you can have a cold beer in a hot natural spring, which is a really nice way to finish a 6 or 7 day trek. We don't just run hiking tours in the country. A lot of clients just like to come and travel around and experience the beautiful nature and local customs without, you know, having to walk 5 or 6 hours a day. Included in this and very popular is actually the southern caravanserais known as Tashrabat. Again, linked to the ancient Silk Road, and if you do walk up to one of the local higher-ish passes, you can actually ride a horse up to the top. From there you can see a very hidden lake called Issyk Kul Lake, and at the edge of Issyk Kul, that ring of mountains there in the southern Tian Shan represents the Chinese border. So herders from China would bring their silk and spices and other goods, often on caravans of camels, horses, mules, yaks. And it's been rebuilt now by the Soviets, but this was a very famous ancient caravanserai, which means sort of a trading post. And you can still, it's built into the side of the mountain, and you can go in and you can see the stables, and you can imagine the bleating of sheep and the yowling of camels and the different languages and smells of cooking, of what it would have been like for these different caravans sort of hiding out here, safe haven from bandits. And you can stay in local yurts as well. It's just really like stepping back in time to that magical ancient Silk Road experience. The country of Kyrgyzstan is smaller than a lot of its neighbors, especially Kazakhstan, which is a huge, sprawling country to the north. And I think the Soviets were sort of more successful in stamping out the nomadic culture in a lot of the surrounding countries than in Kyrgyzstan. Maybe because it was so small and mountainous, it sort of slipped under the radar. Because once that Soviet rule came to an end, their nomadic heritage has really come to the fore and sort of been revived. And it really is sort of the best thing going for the country. The World Nomad Games you may have heard of, and is something that we specialize in as a business, happens every 2 years. It was originally founded in Kyrgyzstan. I experienced the games for the first time in 2018 when I led a couple of groups there. And this is like Olympics for nomadic people. So you've got horse racing, you've got eagle hunting, you've got archery, wrestling, and it's a real celebration, if you like, of that local culture. The local women, when they dress in their traditional costumes, will have a huge amount of linen woven around their head in a large circle. And traditionally, that was actually a practical means of carrying that linen, which would be passed to a young woman as part of her dowry. And that linen would be, it's a symbol of wealth really, but also functional use for her family. If you have a baby, you would wrap them in linen. If someone died in your community, you would wrap that body in linen and put them into the grave. So there's so much fascinating cultural heritage. The men in Kyrgyzstan will wear a very unique hat, which is called a kalpak. It's also made from felt, so it's white like the yurts. And on the sides, you can see the various differentiated nomadic designs that have been woven into it. And then from that kalpak, you can actually tell from which of the original 40 tribes that man and his family descended from. I remember the conversation I once had with a local Kyrgyz boy who lived in Bishkek, and he hadn't actually grown up in the countryside. He had grown up in the city, he was well educated, he'd gone to one of the local universities, and he described to me the feeling he had when he first sat on a horse. He said, I sat on the horse and I just instinctively knew which levers to pull and how to ride this animal, and it became a part of me. And I just love that description, because even though the modern world is creeping into Kyrgyzstan, that nomadic heritage still remains in the very blood of the people there. And I would encourage you to visit the country to discover the nomad within yourself as well.